Disney theme park characters, have there been situations where you had to break character? What was the reason? Consequences. 10 plus years ago, my friend was a face character at Disneyland, and told me about her friend who was friends with Goofy, which is what you say to people when out of costume, to preserve the magic instead of outright saying you're the character. Allegedly, one day, Goofy's shift was over, and he was trying to walk to the back area to cool off, when a very angry mom started yelling at him because he ignored her son. In reality, he couldn't see them as he was turning to walk away. The lady then called him racist, and said that Goofy was ignoring them because they were black. Goofy turned around to greet the child and signed his autograph book, and then turned to the mom, and slipped up his sleeve to quickly point at his own black skin underneath before walking away. Edit. A few people commented that this isn't how the costume works, and that the sleeves are impossible to pull up under the gloves. It could be a baloney story, but this is just what I heard from my friend who worked at Disney, alongside a bunch of our other classmates from our performing arts school at the time. I couldn't even get the zombies at Halloween Horror Nights to break character. Asked one where the restroom was and he flung his arms in the proper direction and grunted. Pretty hilarious. A few years ago at Halloween Horror Nights I had a brief chat with a chainsaw-wielding maniac. He screamed, I screamed, I asked if he was having fun and he said hell yeah, I love scaring people, and off he went. Was he an employee or just a literal chainsaw-wielding maniac? Please clarify, I'm concerned. LOL, I can only hope he was an employee. Wait, you guys are getting paid. I wasn't a character but was a cast member. I was walking from backstage into the park. If you've seen the transitions, they are S-shaped to keep people from peeking in. I was pushing a dolly handcart. The ones we used had two long supports sticking out from the end. As I was going, the Winnie the Pooh was walking in from the other side. I hit her square in the leg with it. Hearing Winnie the Pooh say duck was a pretty damn funny. Did they at least say it in the Pooh voice? Do you want to imagine it happening any other way? Oh bother. They don't break character. If a nuke fell on Disney, they'd be ushering you into the bomb shelters as Aladdin or whatever. I watched Jack Sparrow talking to a kid when the kid started puking everywhere. He said too much of the old apple juice. Been there myself. Even ran out once. All the while, the kid is just projectile vomiting everywhere. I was at Disneyland once and the sheriff of Nottingham was fate menacing a child. He reached out to touch the kid's balloon and for some reason it popped. The character actor was clearly stunned. A new balloon appeared less than 30 seconds later. I was at Disneyland a couple weeks ago and saw Darth Vader not cutting down younglings. It was just unprofessional as all hell. The effort they put into it just isn't the same anymore. My cousin used to do this when I was a kid. We'd always go try to find her on days we knew she was working. She mostly played Pooh Bear. She would never say out loud hi Nougat Duck, but she would get very animated and jump around to give us hugs. Occasionally she'd still say things like I have a rumble in my tummy. I thought I was the coolest kid cause I knew Pooh Bear. You were correct about that. I have a close friend who was Woody for a while at Disneyland. He said that one time the float caught on fire during a show and they had to play it off completely in character. They danced around it and had to quickly get it backstage to deal with the problem. He said they played it off well enough that no one seemed to notice there wasn't any panic. He said he had never seen an instance of anyone breaking character because everyone was very well trained and there's always at least 6 or so cameras that can see you at all times. I also one time offered an unopened water bottle to an employee when it was near 100 degrees and he said if anyone at Disney saw that, he would be fired. They can't take anything from guests. He also mentioned the cameras constantly watching both crew and patrons. Edit. I texted my friend to confirm and he has given me another story to share. One time an acrobat fell off a float, face planted into the ground and knocked herself out. They had to surround her in a circle and dance in sync as they dragged her body away. They played it off well and apparently no one noticed. I've seen articles that face characters can leave at any time if harassment is bad, using in-character excuses. Costume characters always have an attendant with them to control unruly guests. I wasn't a character but worked closely with them, as a photographer. Disney performers are trained to never break character for whatever reason. They have ways of signaling their character attendant that they are in distress, and it's generally up to the character attendant to avoid any weird or uncomfortable situations. As far as weird situations, they do get people that stalk them in the park. Like some people get in those lines multiple times to get a photo with a specific performer. The weird side of Disney fanatics are something else. Yep. I heard of one performer who had to get a restraining order after one of her fans got a full back tattoo of her. The tattoo was not of her in character. Or the Snow White with blue eyes, which had a very loyal fan. One day she changed schedule and the dude flipped because the other employee didn't have blue eyes and he tried to attack her for not being the real Snow White. He was banned. Weird. The real Snow White has brown eyes. Yeah, well, she's a blue-eyed Snow White dragon. Worked at the Disney store in late '87 and '88 in Orange County, CA I think, at the time. It was like one of only a handful of stores open. The back of the store had a big screen, where we constantly played some Disney video. Every once in a while, the biggest, muscular, blackest, gayest dude would come in and kindly request we play anything Pooh-related. He'd then proceed to prance around the store. He came in the evenings, towards closing, and sing the Tigger parts of either dialogue or any song. Turns out he was one of the Tiggers at Disneyland. Dude just loved being Tigger. The type of people that play characters are very into it. If something comes up that needs to be addressed, they will handle it in character. You've probably heard stories about characters helping kids find their parents. These days characters always have handlers nearby that have walkie-talkies. I'm reminded of Gaston in the Push-Ups. Dude was on point with that character. One time we walked by Gaston and my girlfriend was like, "My boyfriend loves you." And without missing a beat he was just like, "I love me too." Being Gaston must be an insanely fun job. When I was 13, we walked by Gaston just chilling on a bench, and started singing "No one's quick as Gaston, no one's slick as Gaston." He shouted at us, "You're only embarrassing yourselves." And we switched to "No one plods like Gaston, takes cheap shots like Gaston," and just when we finished singing, "plans to persecute harmless crackpots like Gaston." He shouted, "He's not harmless. He blows up his house." I loved that he could give live commentary of his son, with the voice and in-character quips. These people are so good at improv, I am always blown away. A few days ago, me, my sister and her friend went to the New Galaxy's Edge area. My sister's friend was around 61 and had never seen Star Wars. We were walking around and Chewbacca ran up to her, he was around her height, and hugged her. Then he put his hand above his head, showing they were both tall. She was super embarrassed, and while we were walking away, he did that fist pump thing. Since then we referred to her as Chewbacca's girlfriend. Seriously, the cutest thing ever. What if Chewbacca was played by a female and was super excited to see a fellow talk female? Okay, you just made this way cuter. Wow, they don't mess around with their silence, Baha. I went once and a man was harassing Cinderella, so she excused herself to the bathroom and ran to a security guard. Don't all characters have a buddy? Or is that only true for costumed characters? I seem to recall at least one other cast member there to direct folks to the end of the line. All fur characters have handlers that continuously guide them. Face characters don't need guidance like that, but generally do have a handler nearby. Except Peter Pan, since he keeps escaping his handler as part of his character, so you'll often see him hiding behind something with his handler looking around close by. Saw a recent video on YouTube of a Ray talking to this little girl and her dad had just started filming. Apparently the story the little girl was telling got Ray laughing so hard, she had to turn her face away and eventually got up and ran away because she couldn't stop laughing at whatever the little girl's story was. Super adorable. In the YouTube comments it is explained what she said. My daughter busted me out for giving her too many donuts, and told Ray she threw up, then persisted to share how she can potty by herself. Right after sharing secrets of the Force, complete 180 in the conversation. That's kids for ya. I hugged the snout out of Stitch a couple of years ago and I'm pretty sure that I heard a squeak. If you're reading this, friend of Stitch, I'm very sorry for hugging you so hard. It's really unlikely that you'll get any current cast members to answer. Also, there's no need for them to break characters since they have handlers or security nearby if there is a safety concern or emergency. They also have tons of places to get out of sight to have a private moment. What if they got injured? I'm picturing Donald Duck breaking a leg and in his voice, Jesus Duck. My goddamn leg. I just said this out loud in the Donald Duck voice. Record this immediately and share with the masses for internet bucks.